For months, people believed Lilly and Jack Sullivan were gone forever. But new details buried in police updates and eyewitness tips are forcing everyone to ask a chilling new question. What if they're still alive? Today, we break down 3 powerful pieces of evidence that suggest these 2 missing children might have survived and are still out there. It starts with a piece of video the RCMP officially confirmed, and what might be hidden just beyond it. Captured by a grainy street-side surveillance camera, the footage shows Lilly and Jack Sullivan walking with their family in New Glasgow, less than 24 hours before they vanished. It's a quiet, almost mundane scene. Lilly holding a small paper cup, Jack skipping a few steps behind, their mother beside them. That brief recording stands as the last confirmed public sighting of the children, a snapshot frozen in time before everything fractured. But what came after would blur the lines between reality, rumor, and revelation. Within days of the disappearance, whispers began circulating among volunteer search groups and local media contacts. There were other clips, videos recorded on dash cams, store CCTV systems, even a trucker's GoPro, all allegedly capturing children who looked eerily similar to Lilly and Jack in the days following their disappearance. Some sightings were reported near an old service road cutting through dense woodland, miles outside the primary search zone. At first, the RCMP treated these as typical post-incident noise, well-intentioned tips born from public anxiety. But then, one of those unverified clips began to stand out. Investigators privately acknowledged that the timestamps and lighting conditions on at least one of the videos aligned with a credible tip received that same night. A partial vehicle plate, faintly visible in the background, matched a car registered to an associate linked to Darren Geddes, the man whose name has since become entangled in this mystery. If even one of these recordings holds up under forensic analysis, it shatters the dominant narrative. Lilly and Jack weren't lost in the wilderness. They were moved. And that single possibility changes everything. It redefines the search from a tragedy of nature to a coordinated disappearance, an operation executed with planning, transportation, and timing. It means someone knew exactly where they were, and more importantly, where they were going. The disappearance of Lilly and Jack, once thought to be an accident of circumstance, now looks more like a story of deliberate intent, a carefully orchestrated vanishing that began with video no one thought to question. The timeline in the Sullivan case doesn't just have gaps. It may reveal movements that couldn't have occurred without coordination or outside help. When investigators compared early witness statements to later police interviews, they noticed subtle but meaningful contradictions. The times when the children were last seen, the exact moment the doors were locked, and even when the alarm system was turned off, each detail shifted slightly with every retelling. Individually, these discrepancies might seem like the natural fog of trauma or confusion, but when placed side by side, they formed a pattern, one that suggested selective memory or worse, deliberate redirection. Police reports quietly noted these inconsistencies, and for investigators trained in missing persons cases, that's a major red flag. As one RCMP source put it, if your timeline doesn't match, something else happened. The statement was blunt but telling. Time isn't just an abstract in an investigation like this. It's evidence. Every minute that changes hands, every recollection that drifts, can mark the exact point where truth gives way to fabrication. And then came the physical silence. Despite deploying ground teams, drones, and scent dogs across more than 300 acres of forest, there wasn't a single credible trace. No dropped toy, no torn fabric, no footprints leading deeper into the woods. Experienced search coordinators were baffled. In real-world cases, even when a person vanishes in thick terrain, something, however small, remained behind. The complete absence of evidence wasn't just unusual. It was statistically improbable. Taken together, these details form a chilling hypothesis. Lilly and Jack Sullivan didn't simply wander away. They were likely removed from the area, quietly, efficiently, and before the official search ever began. Every minute that passed before authorities were alerted only widened the gap between what happened and what was reported. The forest didn't swallow them. Someone orchestrated their disappearance long before the search dogs ever touched the ground. Even months later, the phones haven't stopped ringing, and what's truly unsettling is how specific some of those calls have been. The RCMP's tip line, established in the frantic days following Lilly and Jack Sullivan's disappearance, continues to receive information from across the province. Many of the leads are routine, even predictable: blurry photos, mistaken identities, well-meaning but misguided claims. Yet a small cluster of reports, less than a dozen, have caused investigators to quietly shift their tone. These weren't generic sightings. They contained details so precise, so consistent, that they couldn't be dismissed as coincidence. One report came from a rest stop off Highway 104, a quiet stretch often used by long-haul drivers and families traveling between towns. A witness described a man with an anxious demeanor escorting two children, one girl, one boy, both silent, both seemingly uncomfortable. Days later, another tip surfaced from a cafe worker near Amherst who recalled serving a disoriented adult traveling with two quiet kids who avoided eye contact. What struck the worker was the timing. This occurred weeks after the disappearance, well beyond the point when official search operations had been scaled back and public hope had begun to wane. Each of these reports was logged, cross-referenced, and partially verified through transaction timestamps and surveillance reviews. Investigators remained tight-lipped, refusing to publicly confirm which, if any, of the sightings are considered credible. Still, their actions speak volumes. The reward fund remains active. The case file is still open, and the RCMP's Digital Forensics Unit continues to re-examine video submissions from across Nova Scotia and beyond. That kind of ongoing scrutiny isn't standard procedure for cold cases. It's what happens when investigators suspect that the trail, however faint, still leads somewhere. All of this points to one underlying truth. The police haven't given up, not because of protocol or public pressure, but because deep down they might believe the story isn't over. Every credible call, every lingering sighting, suggests a possibility that can't be ruled out. The chance that Lilly and Jack Sullivan may still be alive, waiting somewhere just beyond the perimeter everyone stopped searching. Here's the one development that could flip this entire case within hours, and how you, watching right now, can play a direct part in it. According to new investigative updates, the RCMP is quietly reviewing a massive trove of unreleased digital evidence, potentially containing a key piece of video or GPS tracking data that could place Lilly or Jack Sullivan somewhere after May 2nd, the day they were officially reported missing. While law enforcement has not disclosed the exact location of this discovery, sources familiar with the process confirm that hundreds of hours of footage are still being analyzed frame by frame. That alone signals something crucial. This investigation isn't cold. It's alive, and investigators are following a digital thread that might finally lead to answers. The focus now is on movement, proof of relocation, or transport. If this new footage confirms that either the children appeared in a different area after May 2nd, it would instantly transform the case from a disappearance into an abduction or relocation event. That shift would reset the entire investigative framework, opening doors to new warrants, expanded jurisdictions, and, most importantly, fresh hope. But this is where you, the viewer or listener, become critical. The RCMP's data is vast, but incomplete. So if you live in Nova Scotia, particularly along Highway 104, Truro, Amherst, or New Glasgow, your digital recordings might contain the missing puzzle piece. Check doorbell footage, dash cams, trail cameras, or even parking lot surveillance from May through June 2025. Look for anything out of place. A vehicle parked oddly long, a child matching Lilly or Jack's description, or an unfamiliar adult traveling with two quiet kids. Don't assume someone else has already reported it. Even a 5-second clip or a still image could provide a lead that redefines this case. Submit your footage to the RCMP tip portal or contact the nearest attachment, because sometimes breakthroughs don't come from lab results or high-tech scans. They come from ordinary people paying attention. This potential lead, this single fragment of data, could be the one that changes everything about the story of Lilly and Jack Sullivan, turning speculation into evidence and hope into something real. It's not just wishful thinking. There are real, evidence-based reasons to believe that survival is still very much on the table. Every missing persons investigation reaches a point where hope and logic collide. And yet in the case of Lilly and Jack Sullivan, that line hasn't blurred, it's strengthened. What investigators are quietly acknowledging, and what emerging reports suggest, is that the children could be alive but deliberately concealed. The first and most plausible scenario centers on familiarity. If Lily and Jack are with someone who knows them, a relative, a friend of the family, or even a person who had prior contact under the guise of safety, then their survival isn't just possible, it's likely. In these situations, children can remain hidden in plain sight, cared for, moved between safe houses, or kept under false pretenses of protection. It's a heartbreaking idea, but also a hopeful one. Being unseen doesn't mean being gone. The second factor is timing. Analysts reviewing the case timeline believe the children were probably removed from the rural area early, possibly within the first few hours of their reported disappearance. If true, that means they were never exposed to harsh terrain, frigid temperatures, or wildlife that would have made survival in the woods nearly impossible. Instead, they could have been transported to an environment where their safety, though hidden, was maintained.